getting to be able to communicate that is very powerful.
So, but
tell that story. But I think, as Tori said, that the ability to really, you will tell that story in a short fashion, but you will have to process that, and it will take time.
It's still very, very raw. Yeah. But I'm also proud of, you were asking where the cutting edge is these days. I don't think there was ever a point for me, and I'm pretty sure there was never a point for Tori, even at our weirdest, even at our most outre, and even at the points where we suddenly found ourselves in the press, where it ever occurred to us that we were pushing the envelope or trying to be weird. What we were doing was going, well, I've got stuff to say. And so you'd say it. You'd say the stuff you had to say. And most of the time...
Back to what Tori was saying as well, which is sometimes what that's doing is opening you up and allowing you to be vulnerable, because you are aware that if you say something, actually there will be a response and people will come for you, so you better be actually showing an intention. So I think that's what you're saying, is if you do something great and you have the intention and it's pure, you can stand behind it, whatever comes down on you. But if you're just doing it for no reason, you're going to get taken down.
Just before I met Tori, I went through a long, dark weekend of the soul. It wasn't a night, it was Friday through to Monday. Because I got a phone call on the Friday from my editor, Karen Berger, letting me know that a Philadelphia newspaper had been in touch because a guy who was a Sandman fan had committed suicide. And he'd left a suicide note, signed the Sandman, and there was a copy of Sandman on his body. And I had to go, okay, did I do that? Did I do something that could have tipped somebody over? What did I do? What was I doing? How did that happen? And I remember phoning Clyde Barker, phoning Alan Moore, phoning anybody that I could think of who might have had similar things, and then talking through their stories, and actually going, okay, I think I'm a responsible creator. I haven't told any stories I cannot stand behind. Anybody who would have killed themselves after reading Sandman would have killed themselves after seeing the Bible or The Sound of Music. Or it's not, I haven't, particularly The Sound of Music. It only lasted until Monday, because on Monday I discovered that actually what had happened was this guy's boyfriend had murdered him. And had decided to make it look like an occult-inspired comic killing, and had written the suicide note. And actually, neither he nor the boyfriend had read Sandman. They were big X-Men fans.
You were saying the occult does get blamed for all kinds of things, and those of us who are interested in different, subjects, I don't even know if you'd call it spiritualities, but sometimes things get boxed in, don't they? Are you this or are you that? And we've talked about this for years too, that people's belief systems can be very complex and evolving, and that it's okay for it to be evolving. You don't have to say, I'm a Wiccan, or I'm a this, I'm a unicorn.
The glorious thing for me about Sandman was that you had this magnificent anarchy of belief in which everything was true. And that was wonderful. That was intensely liberating.
And the death was hot. And we all wanted to be death, but we all didn't get to be death.
There's also, Sandman is very, very open to interpretation. It wasn't sort of being in any way kind of prescriptive or specific, or here's a message, or here's a particular mythology, or why it was right or wrong. It was storytelling, it was celebrating storytelling, celebrating possibilities.
Did it drive you to explore things as much as you were exploring things and then writing from that, or did you feel that it was pushing you to look at certain things?
It drove me to, for me, Sandman existed in this weird balancing act between everything that I had read, between, the point that I started to read and the point that I was writing whatever episode I was on, and the need to find stuff out you know, I remember my horror at realizing that I was going to have to write a French Revolution story, and that I had 3 weeks to research the French Revolution.
How were you at history at school? What was your weakest subject at school?
Weakest
History was
subject.
one of my weakest subjects.
I
It was a terrible teacher. It was all just dates and accidents.
I was going to say,
Nothing human at all.
I didn't fall in love with history till I was writing Sandman.
How do you not fall in love with history? I mean, it's us.
It was because it was dates and wars, and occasional corn famines. Or corn laws, which were even weirder than famines, because at least I could. So yeah, I didn't, suddenly.
I had to gin up on the French Revolution, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's been really interesting how quickly I could research things when I needed to, because you go, okay, I need the nuggets, I need those things that suddenly bring everything to life, and they'd always be there.
Google. This is before Google. You have to go.
But that made in weird ways, that would always make things easier. Because now with Wikipedia and Google and things, there's always too much information. What was great was you'd go out and you would find one book on the French Revolution, and you'd read. I read Simon Schama's French Revolution, and that was my research for the Augustus episode of Sandman. It was Suetonius's Lives of the 12 Caesars, just the Julius Caesar and the Augustus chapters. That was the entirety of what can I build this with. I know there's a lot of other stuff about Augustus, but I will use this because the clock is ticking. And
Are you still quite a voracious reader? I mean, this is obviously reading with a viewpoint of I've got to do this. This is where my story's going. I must research it. But do you explore?
I'm rediscovering my voracious readiness.
Yeah.
My voracious readiness went away for a little bit, and I couldn't figure out why until I realized I needed reading glasses. Because reading had stopped being fun, and I couldn't figure out why is reading, which was always my salvation, so much fun. And now it's not fun, and I've got books that aren't getting finished and aren't getting read, and finally went out and God knows.
Do you know what's really important, though, I find, is that I'm open to people suggesting to me what to read. So you and I have had this chat today. You're always telling me what to do, which is great. But
You'll receive your reading.
he's going to give me a list, okay, because I don't know about a lot that's going on downstairs. I just don't. So I know the Sandman, and that's the end of it. But I want to know. And at 50, I can tell you I'm at a state, maybe when I was 28, and maybe you remember this, you wouldn't always cop to how stupid you felt. Because sometimes you just feel that people, it's that one up on you, or they make you feel that you are stupid, or you make yourself feel stupid. But, you know.
With my friend Roz Caveney, I would have conversations with Roz, and she would always talk about stuff that I didn't know, as if I did. And I would never come to it. I would simply run away and read the thing before the next time I saw Roz, which meant that my reading, very often in very interesting, I discovered these great things I would never have discovered. Yes, run away and read it.
So if any of you want to tell us something to read, we'll go read it. But it's about balancing time. So as a creator, you're always having to balance input and output, right? So you have to figure, guys, sometimes you've got to push yourself on pilgrimage. You've got to do it. So when you stay in your safe place all the time, you've got to break the routine sometimes in order for the different muses to come. And you don't always have to experience everything yourself, so you don't have to have 7 divorces, okay? You know, in order to write this fantastical stuff. And I know you know that here, but sometimes it's really about allowing yourself to experience things, read things that maybe you weren't open to before. So I'm waiting for my list from you. You're going to bring me a list, and you're going to send me a list.
I always loved that line. I always love that line about be dull and bourgeois in your life so you can be wild and unconstrained in your work. And what I've always loved about that is I've known people who were much wilder in their life than in their work, and I've known many people who were as wild in their life and their work, and then I've known people who were genuinely, you would assume, talking to them, that they were, retired bank managers from some small provincial bank in which nothing ever happened, and then you read their books and you go,
wow.
Yeah.